firefighter sees a woman and a child walking in a snowstorm. Feeling sorry for them, he gave them a ride and shelter. When the woman spoke, he was shocked. An unexpected snowstorm, a lonely road, and a surprising encounter. John, seeking peace, finds Sarah and Lily, a mother and daughter in need of help. But what was supposed to be a simple ride turns into an unexpected situation where secrets and dangers emerge. John, an experienced and dedicated firefighter, was driving back home, eager for his long-awaited winter vacation. He had planned quiet, relaxing days, with the fireplace lit, good books, and the peaceful sound of snow gently falling. Behind the wheel, he felt a growing sense of relief as he left behind the stress and responsibilities of work, even if only for a brief time. The snow, initially a calming element, began to intensify, covering the landscape with a thick white blanket. As he drove along a nearly deserted road, something caught his attention. Two figures were walking on the roadside, almost invisible under the growing snowfall. John frowned, concerned. Slowing down, he approached the figures and saw a woman and a little girl. The woman was shivering, wearing only a thin coat, clearly inadequate for the intense cold, while the girl clutched her hand, trying to keep up. John pulled over and lowered the window. "Do you need help?" he asked, his voice full of genuine concern. The woman looked at him with a mix of distrust and desperation. "It's too cold for you to stay out here. Please, get in the car," John insisted, turning up the heater. The woman hesitated, but looking at her daughter, who was visibly trembling, she decided to accept the offer. "Thank you," she murmured, helping the girl into the car. As John cranked the heater to the maximum, he introduced himself. "My name is John. Can I take you somewhere safe?" The woman sighed, clearly struggling to keep her composure. "I'm Sarah, and this is my daughter Lily," she replied, holding back tears. John sensed there was more to their story than just getting caught in a snowstorm, but he chose not to press, giving them the space they needed. As he drove, the silence in the car was interrupted only by the sound of wind and snow hitting the windshield. To ease the tense atmosphere, John tried to start a casual conversation. "This snow is quite a surprise, huh? It wasn't in the forecast for today." Sarah managed a faint smile, but the fear in her eyes was undeniable. The snow continued to fall, making the road hard to see. Concerned for everyone's safety, John suggested, "I live nearby, in a mountain cabin. It's not much, but it's warm and safe. You can stay there until the storm passes." Sarah looked at Lily, who nodded silently. With few options, Sarah accepted. "Thank you so much, John. We'll take you up on your kindness." With that decision, John, Sarah, and Lily headed to John's home, where what was meant to be a peaceful vacation would take a completely different turn. John's cabin appeared on the snow-covered horizon, a cozy refuge amidst the winter landscape. As they approached, the tension in the car seemed to ease a little. John parked the car and helped Sarah and Lily inside, greeted by the warm embrace of the cabin's heat. "I'll light the fireplace and make something warm for us to drink," John said, moving swiftly around the house. Sarah and Lily stayed in the living room, taking in their surroundings. The cabin, though simple, was welcoming, filled with memories of a life dedicated to community service and his career as a firefighter. John returned with blankets and began to light the fire. "You can warm up here while I prepare dinner," he offered, maintaining his caring demeanor. Sarah, still visibly cautious, accepted the blankets and huddled up next to Lily, who was watching everything with curious eyes. During dinner, John finally addressed the question that had been bothering him. "What happened for you to be out on that road? It's dangerous to be walking in this weather," he asked, trying to keep his tone neutral. Sarah was silent for a moment, struggling to find the right words. Finally, she took a deep breath and began to speak, her voice trembling with emotion. "My husband, he has issues with alcohol and violence. Today, he lost control and hit me," she confessed, tears finally falling. "I was afraid of what he might do to Lily, so I ran away with her." John felt a wave of both compassion and anger at the same time. He looked at Lily, who was focused on her food, and his determination to protect them only grew stronger. "I'm so sorry to hear that," he said sincerely. You're safe here. I promise I'll do everything I can to help you. Sarah nodded, her eyes brimming with gratitude and relief. After dinner, John showed them where they could take a warm bath and change. He offered them clothes that had belonged to his late wife and son, still tucked away. While Sarah and Lily settled in, John reflected on the seriousness of the situation. Their unexpected presence in his life stirred a protective instinct in him that he hadn't felt in a long time. After bathing and changing, Sarah and Lily returned to the living room, where John had already lit the fireplace. The crackling fire filled the room with a comforting warmth, easing the chill from outside. They were both dressed in comfortable clothes, visibly more at ease. Sarah, though still tired and emotionally drained, seemed calmer. "You must be exhausted," John said, serving them hot chocolate. "This should help you relax." He smiled gently as he handed them their mugs. Lily watched the fire with fascination, her face now calm instead of fearful. "Thank you for everything," Sarah said, sitting on the sofa with a mug in hand. "You have no idea how much this means to us." She looked at Lily, who was absorbed in her own world, and sighed with relief that they were safe. John sat beside her, looking at the fire. "No need to thank me. I'm happy to help." He sat in silence for a moment, appreciating the warmth and the sense of comfort that filled the room. "And Lily seems to be adapting well," he added, smiling as he watched the girl. Sarah nodded. "Yes, she's strong," she replied, her voice filled with love and pride. "It's hard to see her go through this. I just want her to have a happy, safe life." She looked at John, her expression softening. "You must be a very special person to offer so much kindness to strangers." John smiled shyly. "I guess everyone deserves a chance, especially in tough times," he said. "And to be honest, it's nice to have company. It's been a while since this house has felt so full of life." As they talked, Sarah began to open up more about her past. She shared the good times before her husband changed, how alcohol began to dominate his life, and how violence became a constant presence. John listened carefully, feeling a mixture of sadness and admiration for her resilience. "It wasn't easy," Sarah said, tears returning to her eyes, "but I knew I had to protect Lily. I couldn't let her see that anymore." John placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You did the right thing, and now you're here safe. We can figure out what to do next, one step at a time," he said, his tone firm and reassuring. Sarah smiled slightly, feeling safer than she had in a long time. As the night wore on, they continued talking, sharing stories and forming a connection that felt natural and genuine. John opened up about the loss of his family, a car accident that left him alone. "I lost my wife and son a few years ago," he said, the pain evident in his voice. "Since then, my work has been my life, but in a way, helping others helps me move forward." Sarah looked at him with compassion. "I'm so sorry for your loss," she said softly. "You're a good person, John, someone who makes a difference." They sat in silence for a moment, comforted by each other's presence and the warmth of the fire. As the snowstorm raged outside, John's cabin became a safe haven. The night was late, but the exhaustion couldn't overshadow the feeling of safety Sarah and Lily now had. John checked the locks on the doors and windows, making sure everything was secure. Still, a sense of unease lingered in the air. Sarah, wrapped in the blankets John had given her, sat on the couch, gazing at the fire. They talked more, diving into personal topics. John shared how he felt after losing his family, and Sarah, in turn, revealed more about the last few months with her husband. "He changed so much," she murmured, her voice heavy with sadness. "At first, he was caring, but alcohol changed him." John nodded, understanding the pain in her words. "It's hard to watch someone lose themselves like that," he said sympathetically. "But you did the right thing protecting Lily." Sarah agreed, still uncertain about what the future held. Suddenly, the tranquility was broken by the sound of a car stopping outside. John frowned, his protective instincts kicking in. He asked Sarah to wait while he went to the door. Cautiously, he opened it just a crack and saw a man stumbling in the snow, clearly drunk. His heart raced as he realized it could be Sarah's husband. The man approached, banging on the door with urgency. John opened it just enough for the man to see him, keeping it mostly closed. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice firm. "Have you seen a woman and a girl around here?" The man slurred, his voice thick with alcohol. "They left home, didn't come back. I'm worried with this snowstorm." John could tell the man was trying to sound calm, but there was a restlessness in his eyes. John took a deep breath, holding his ground. "No, I haven't seen anyone," he lied without hesitation. "The storm is dangerous. You should go back home." The man looked around as if trying to see something in the darkness. "Can I come in?" "It's freezing out here," he insisted, trying to push his way in. John stood his ground, blocking the door with his body. "Sorry, my family is sleeping. I can't let anyone in," he said firmly. "You'd better leave before the storm gets worse." The man hesitated, visibly frustrated, but eventually walked away. John waited until he got in his car and disappeared into the darkness before closing the door and returning inside. He found Sarah standing, pale and terrified. "That was him, wasn't it?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "Yes," John confirmed, trying to reassure her. "But he's gone now. You're safe here." Sarah let out a shaky breath, the tension clear on her face. "What if he comes back?" she asked, her voice full of fear. John placed a hand on her shoulder. "I'll make sure he doesn't get in," he promised. "You're under my protection now." As the snow continued to fall outside, John's cabin, which once seemed like a safe refuge, now felt like a place of tension and uncertainty. But with John's firm presence, Sarah and Lily found an anchor of hope and safety amidst the storm. The next morning dawned with a soft glow of sunlight reflecting off the freshly fallen snow. The storm had passed, leaving behind a peaceful, frozen landscape. John woke early, preparing breakfast as he thought about the events of the previous night. The house was silent, a welcome contrast to the emotional turmoil. Sarah and Lily came downstairs, still sleepy but visibly relieved to see everything was calm. They sat at the table, and John served a simple meal of eggs and toast. There was an attempt at normalcy, but an underlying tension lingered in the air. Sarah, taking a sip of coffee, finally broke the silence. "I need to go back home," she said, a new determination in her voice. "We need to get important documents, clothes. We can't leave everything behind." John, though concerned for her safety, understood the need. He nodded, resolved to go with her. "Let's go," he said. "But we need to be quick. I don't want to give him a chance to show up." Sarah agreed, appreciating his support. She explained the situation to Lily, assuring her that everything would be fine and they'd return quickly. They bundled up and headed out into the cold, John checking the car before they left. The drive back to Sarah's house was quiet, each lost in their own thoughts. Sarah gazed out at the white landscape with a distant expression, while John kept his focus on the road. As they rounded a curve, they spotted a car overturned in the ditch beside the road. Sarah's heart raced. "That's his car," she said in disbelief. John pulled over and got out to check. As he approached, he saw the man unconscious inside, but breathing. Quickly, he pulled out his phone and called for an ambulance. Sarah and Lily stayed in the car, watching anxiously as John spoke with the paramedics. The ambulance arrived swiftly, and the professionals worked to extract the man from the vehicle. John returned to the car, trying to reassure Sarah. "He's going to survive," he informed her. "But this solves some of your problems." Sarah looked at John, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't know what to feel," she said, her voice filled with confusion. Relief, fear. He's still Lily's father. John understood the complexity of the situation and simply nodded, holding her hand in a gesture of support. "Let's get what you need and get out of here," he said softly. "You have a future to build, far from all this." Sarah nodded, taking a deep breath as she prepared for what lay ahead. The trip inside the house was quick and efficient. Sarah gathered important documents, some clothes and essential items. John helped load everything into the car. They didn't linger, always alert to the possibility of someone showing up. With everything packed, they left, leaving behind a life of uncertainty and fear. On the drive back to the cabin, the silence was heavy, but filled with a new sense of determination. John knew this was a chance for a fresh start for Sarah and Lily, and he was committed to helping them every step of the way. Back at the cabin, John, Sarah, and Lily began to organize the things they had brought from the house. The atmosphere was a mixture of relief and anticipation. John played some soft music, trying to create a light and welcoming environment. Sarah, still processing everything that had happened, began to put away clothes and documents. Lily, feeling more comfortable, played with some toys John had found in the attic, remnants of his son. In the days that followed, the house became a place of recovery and reflection. Sarah began to open up more about her dreams and hopes for the future. "I always wanted to be a teacher," she confessed one night as they drank tea near the fireplace. "But I got lost along the way with all of life's complications." John, always a good listener, encouraged her. "You can still follow that dream," he said with conviction. "Now is the time to think about yourselves and what you want for the future." Sarah smiled, feeling inspired by John's positive outlook. Every night, after putting Lily to bed, John and Sarah would sit together, talking for hours. Their connection deepened, built on mutual understanding and respect. John, who had long closed off his heart, felt a new sense of hope. Sarah, in turn, began to believe that she could build a new life full of possibilities for herself and her daughter. One night, John gathered his courage and made an unexpected proposal. "Sarah, I've been thinking a lot," he began, a bit hesitant. "Maybe this seems rushed, but you and Lily could stay here as long as you need. I don't want you to feel pressured to leave before you're ready." Sarah was touched by the offer. "You've been incredibly generous," she said, her eyes filled with gratitude. "I don't know how to thank you." John smiled, gently touching her hand. "Seeing you both safe is thanks enough," he replied honestly. The closeness between them was palpable, and they both felt that something special was blossoming. Over time, the friendship between John and Sarah began to evolve into something deeper. Both were cautious, aware of the emotional scars they carried, but there was a clear willingness to explore what could become a new beginning. One cold morning, as they had coffee together, John looked at Sarah and felt that the time was right to take the next step. "Sarah," he began, his voice calm but filled with meaning. "I've been thinking a lot about us and the future. What do you think about getting married? I believe we could build something beautiful together, for us and for Lily." Sarah, surprised, felt her eyes fill with tears. She knew that John was a man she could trust, someone who would offer her and Lily the love and stability they so desperately needed. "Yes, I accept," she said, smiling through her tears. The wedding was simple and intimate, held in the small-town chapel. Surrounded by close friends and a few family members, they exchanged vows under the soft glow of candles, with Lily beaming beside them. The emotion was palpable, and the future seemed bright. Thus, in the midst of winter, a new family was formed. John, Sarah, and Lily began their life together, with the promise of love, respect, and mutual protection. They knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but they were ready to face it together, as a family. The story of Sarah and John is a testament to resilience and hope. It shows that even in the toughest situations, happiness and renewal can be found. As spring arrived, John's home, now filled with life and laughter, became a symbol of new beginnings and second chances.